And just wanted to, for the sake of all of us earthlings out there, just wanted to say, we love the earth, it is our planet. We love the earth, it is our home.
Oh no, what happened?
I think your crops have been destroyed.
How could that happen?
Global warming?
What's that?
Global warming is the heating of the Earth's surface due to the sun's rays. Now you might ask, doesn't the atmosphere stop the sun's rays? Well, yeah, it stops some of them, but some of them get to the Earth's surface. Then they can't be reflected back out to space due to greenhouse gases in the troposphere, such as methane and CO2 and ozone.
I still don't know why my crops aren't growing. I've used pesticides to keep bugs away, and I've been giving them water and fertilizer, but they still aren't growing or giving me the yield that I need.
Well, unfortunately, pesticides, lots of water, and fertilizer affect a crop's yield and the fertility of the soil. Pesticides can affect the chemistry, nutritional value, and the yield of the crops. They can also be affected due to the chemicals that can stay on the crops when harvested and eaten. The fertilizer can affect the amount of yield and can cause the fertility of the soil to decrease because the crops are using all the fertile soil and the amount of yield gets smaller over time. The amount of water used can wash all the pesticides and fertilizers into nearby water supplies and can pollute them.
Oh my, how can I fix this and get my crops back?
You can decrease the amount of pesticides, water, and fertilizer and see if that makes a difference. Also try to trade out crops from fields because each crop needs a different amount of fertile soil.
I understand the physics, biology, and chemistry of my crops, but I still don't understand why my crops don't want to grow. I feel like I'm doing everything right. There must be an issue I'm missing.
It is important to understand all three of those aspects behind your crops, but farmers also must look at agroecology. Agroecology is the study of the ecological processes applied to the agriculture production system. This assesses how, when, and if technology can be used together with natural, social, and human assets. It's important to look as much below the ground as you do above the ground.
So what do you think I should do to get a better yield?
Well, the key to agroecology is diversity. Different crops thrive in different settings. For example, fresh market vegetables need a lot of irrigation, even in humid areas. If the area you are farming intends to have a lot of droughts, it's probably not the best idea to plant these crops. As a good farmer needs to understand the ecology of their land and based on that to decide what crops will grow best in their environment.
So I got a question. If there's all these changes going on in the world and I can't do anything about them, what am I supposed to do with my crops?
Well, that's actually where there's a little bit of hope, because the agriculture industry has always been one of the most resilient and adaptable industries we have. And now the scientists are beginning to adapt as well, as they're genetically engineering crops across the planet and introducing genes to help them better suit for their environments.
That sounds pretty complicated. Am I supposed to try these out, or are scientists taking care of that too?
That's actually already being done. Researchers in Cape Town University and in South Africa are taking genes from a native plant which has the unique ability to enter into dormancy during periods of intense drought and then bounce back in the event of rain. And they're taking these genes and putting them into a more common African grain called teff to help with their production as well.
That does sound like a pretty intelligent idea. I have no idea how they're going to do that, but it sounds like it has the chance to help out myself as well as my farm. How soon will I be able to use some of their edits?
That's the issue, is that this testing does take a considerable amount of time. So by the time you actually need these crops, they may not be ready. And the thing is too, we haven't talked about, is that there's ethical issues with these GMOs as well, as we may not be able to grow these in our farms and then have them come to our tables as well.
What do you mean by that? What's so wrong with these crops when they couldn't grow them?
That's for our policymakers to decide. There's been a strong correlation between the health of the organisms eating these genetically modified crops and how they're produced. There's been a strong correlation as it relates to their long-term health. Right away there isn't as much, but it can affect, as time goes on, it can affect their health as it goes. So it's up to us as a society to decide if it's really worth it for us to use these. It does provide a safe food security option right now, but we need to decide if it's something that's worth it in the long run of our health.
So what are you working on?
Science.
There's something not quite right about my numbers in recent years. Meat profits are down, and I'm spending more and more on pesticides every year. Farming isn't cheap, and I'm not sure how much longer I can sustain my losses. What do I do?
Let's have a quick look at your economics in your farm. You mentioned your meat profits are down, and you of all people should understand that the warmer climate and water loss, crop yields are low. You're spending more and more on your animal feed, but you're not increasing your prices for your meat accordingly.
That makes sense, but surely spending more money on telling you pesticides doesn't contribute to climate change.
Actually, see, that's where you're wrong. The now warmer climate has allowed for pests such as weeds to really increase and start ravaging through the plants. Recent studies have shown that the US is now spending $11 billion per year on pesticides and herbicides.
11 billion? Wow. I could really do with that kind of money. How do I get into that sort of business?
Thanks for seeing me right away, Doc. I've not been one to really believe or want to understand anxiety, but I think I have a bad case of it. I'm always so stressed at all times of the year, whether it be planting season or harvest. What do I do?
What do you think the source of your problem is?
Climate change.
I'd have to agree. With the cutoff of irreversible climate change being only 2 degrees away at the global temperature, I could see why you would be stressed. It is hard to wrap my mind around the fact that the farmland that has been in your family for generations might be no use in a couple of decades.
You're totally right. I feel like I'm constantly worried about what to do, that I barely have any time to breathe. Farming is all I've ever known. It's all my family has ever known. What will I do if it's ripped out from under me?
That's a problem you can worry about when the time comes. Farmers are one of the most resilient occupations, and you will find a way to work around the climate change. I believe in you. Just have a positive attitude and come talk to me anytime.
Thanks, Doc.